All right. So, hello, my Facebook, Instagram, and oh no, I know I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, YouTube community. I'm so happy to see you. I have Shemitria Smith with me today. She was on an episode of Elisha Space where we talked about the importance and the power of walking into um, and embracing positivity. You know, especially right now, Shemitria, I would say that in today's world, there's so many things you can be negative about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many things, even in the United States, where we have this election coming up and so many things coming up. It's a lot of negative things going on. Don't you think so?
Absolutely. It is. First of all, thank you so much for having me here again. I
You're welcome.
always am so grateful to speak to you and pour into people positivity. And, I think media controls the narrative. So it's like they control, if
True.
they want it to be negative, then that's what they're going to feed you. And we're
Mhm.
mouth people. So we see one thing and we go talk to somebody else, go talk to somebody else, go talk. And it's like a mob. So now you have an angry mob, and now the media has done exactly what they wanted to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what we did is, audience, what we did is we are continuing from the um, podcast where we talked about um, positivity. And as a matter of fact, I put it in the podcast and the comments so you guys can actually have the link for those of you who later on want to kind of see it. And we spoke about the importance of positivity and moving in that space of positivity, even when things are negative. So we decided to do a little bit of an even deeper dive of moving into a space of positivity um, regarding this because it's such an important topic. Like walking in a place of positivity, it can shift your mood, it can shift your perspective on things. It can get you from a place of closed doors to open doors to um, missed opportunities to greater opportunities just because you have that there. So I thought it'd be great to have Shemitria on to do a little bit further of conversation around that. And Shemitria, if you could just kind of share with us, and we'll talk through some tips that people can use when it comes to moving in a space of positivity. So, what would you say is a tip for going from a tip that you would want to share regarding positivity and moving in that space?
Um, One of the biggest tips that I share with everybody is I think you have to learn to protect your peace because your peace, and even if you
Man,
don't know
don't you have to protect your peace?
you have to protect your peace.
Man,
And even if
girl.
we have to learn to figure out that everybody is not having a great day, and that's fine. That's really fine. But what I can choose to decide is not to let you project that on me. If I'm having a great day, I have
Mhm.
to make it my responsibility to make sure that I protect my peace so that I can continue to have a great day, if that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's where it's hard sometimes because we
So, so kind of tell me, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
oh, no, no, you're fine.
I was just wondering, tell me what are some ways I can protect my peace?
I think definitely number one, you have to have a spiritual relationship with God or higher power, because that is where you get your peace from. And you have to, in your mind, always figure out a way to stay connected to God.
Hmm.
And how am I moving in God's characteristics? How am I moving in love? How am I moving in hope? How am I moving in faith? How am I moving in encouragement? And if you're thinking about all those things, then it leaves little room for you to think about anything else. It leaves little room for you to open yourself up to allow the negativity to pour in. So if you hold on to those core values, then it makes it a little easier to protect your peace.
I would also say, in order to protect your peace, you have to be cognizant to unhealthy thinking patterns too.
Hmm.
You know, um, sorry, I can talk and chew gum at the same time, but sometimes I can't when it comes to adding these links. So, audience,
So,
here is the link for the show that we did with Shemitria. If you like that, you have that there, and we're just going to keep it moving. So, in regards to the what we were just discussing around protecting our peace and moving in a space of protecting our peace, one of
hmm.
the biggest things that I've picked up around that is being cognizant of unhealthy thinking. So
Hmm.
thinking like, oh, this always happens to me, or this happens to someone else, but it doesn't happen to me. Those types of things, being aware of like all or nothing types of thinking, catastrophizing, those types of things. That those types of things can lead you on a path that's very unhealthy and
Right.
not good. So if
Hmm.
you're looking for a way to have more positive thinking, a more positive mindset, and to protect your peace, you almost have to be more cognizant of the types of thoughts that you're having in order to protect your peace, right? Um,
Right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you hit the nail directly on the head with your mental and just becoming aware of our thoughts, because our thoughts drive
Mhm,
everything. From the moment we open our eyes to the time we close them at night, our brain is just, our thoughts are flowing, imaginations, ideas, visions, everything. Our brain is going, going, going. So you have to be aware of, really, what am I thinking about? Really, what am I putting into my brain? What am I projecting in my brain? Because whatever is in my brain, that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm projecting out. So if it's negativity stemming in your brain, then it's negativity that feeds out. But if it's positivity that's flowing in, if it's love that's flowing in, if it's how can I move in a way that what I'm doing is increasing God, increasing God's love, then it's when you move that way, then I think that that'll help you move a little easier. Not it more positive, let's say that. Let's say that
mhm,
more positive. Because I don't want
mhm.
people to associate, oh, if I'm positive, everything will be easy. As I said when we were having our last discussion, is we're all in a fight, we're all in a battle. So it's never that, oh, everything is just easy, easy, easy. But when you do become aware of protecting your peace and my thoughts and my mental and things and how I'm moving, then I think that kind of helps you. I don't want to say kind of balance it all out. So that way, kind of when the trials come, it's not automatically, oh, let me break down. You have learned, you've built up a little strength, you've built up faith so that it'll help you navigate through what it is you're going through. Because whatever we're going through, we're going to get through it. And so I think that's where we have to stay in that positivity mindset and stay in that positivity zone, because we know that we will get through it and we know we will get out of it.
There's something else to consider as well when it comes to protecting your peace, and staying in a place of positivity, is making
Hmm.
sure that you have boundaries with other people.
Hmm. 100%. And
You acted like I said a sermon, but go ahead.
well, you know what? It sounds so simple. It really sounds so simple, but you really have to work hard at it, because even with family, there is no boundaries sometimes. So you have to work to make sure that you have your boundaries in place. And it's hard because I struggle with, like, well, where does the boundary line, like, where is it firm? And now where am I not being nice? Where am I not, and it's almost, you kind of feel guilty for having those boundary lines. But you realize that those are the most important things for your peace of mind. Like, really.
Man, I mean, just having a letting some people know, letting some people know, look, you know, um, I'm not who I used to be, and so you so you can't come over at 3 o'clock in the morning like you used to,
Mhm.
okay? Like
Right.
you gotta call before you come, those kinds of boundaries. You gotta call
Mhm.
for you come,
Right.
those kinds of things, you know,
Mhm.
is a way to protect your peace and things like that. And moving in that space of positivity around that, like what you're doing is you're cultivating, you're nurturing a positive environment for yourself so you can have peace. I think the
Mhm.
worst thing too you can experience is not having peace in your own home,
Mm.
right?
Yes. Yes. Because that's where you start. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary. It's supposed to be where I can shut out everything from the outside world, and I know my home is my safe space. I know my home is
Absolutely.
where I have my peace of mind. Like, if nothing else, it should be your home. And the good thing about having a great team, because it's teams in everything we do, not just, work, but it's teams even internally in your home, is, are we all on the
Hmm.
same page? Are we all working on the same goals? Is peace, is that the ultimate goal in this whole household? And if it's not, but it's my goal, then we definitely have a problem because we need to be on the same page.
Right, right. What else would you say, Shemitria, is another tip we could share with the audience regarding not protected, but embracing positivity
Positivity.
and how it can
Um,
better your life?
So I think that when you learn to move with the air of grace, you have to have grace, which I have learned. And it's so funny how, as we get older, words that we've said always, when they mean something, they actually mean something. And for me, the word grace and mercy has increased, quadrupled, especially as I've gotten older, because I've learned to, as God extends the grace to me, I have to extend it to other people, and extend it to myself, because I can't forget myself either. And I think that's
Mhm.
where we sometimes, when we think about positivity, oh, it's just, oh, it's positivity to other people. No, 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 no. It's positivity to yourself too, because that's the thing, is I can't be anything to anybody else if I'm nothing to myself. So I have to extend it to myself as well as I extend to others. But that grace allows you to forgive. That grace allows you to understand, even if you don't have a clear reason, but it allows to give you it allows you to allow positivity in, because you begin to see any things. And I like to use myself all the time, so I didn't have a I was blessed with the childhood I had with my mom was a single mom, but it was a lot of things that I didn't understand from, of course, from the child's perspective, but I didn't understand it. We didn't have the best relationship, but I'm so gracious now that we're older, that we have the relationship we had now, because God had to take me through a period of grace where I had to understand that my mother did the best that she could do for me at the time of what she had. And it was
Right,
because of that grace that I understand and I love her more. And we have the most amazing relationship now, because I needed to have that grace. And even with my father, who wasn't around, because he was trying to figure out life himself. He didn't know how to be a parent, he didn't know how to be a grown, that he was just trying to figure it out. But it is because of that grace that it was like, Let me not hold on to this anger. Let me not take this personally as to know that, oh, why he wasn't around was because of me. And I think that when you begin to allow grace to enter into you, it gives you a different mindset to think. And I think with that, it allows the walls to crumble down where you can allow positivity, you can allow love, you can allow forgiveness, all this stuff to enter into the place of where all of the negativity would be.
What are some ways that you can show grace to other people?
Definitely prayer. I think it definitely stems a lot from prayer. One, because we have to, in the shifting of the mindset, you have to be broken down in order to be built up. And I say that the broken down because society operates in a 90% negative zone. So sometimes you have to unlearn a whole bunch of stuff, in order to pick up stuff to learn. So, and then say that it's the God allow me grace. I'm building my relationship with God. He's entering all of these his components in, and not to say that I'm perfect. This is not, oh, I'm perfect, oh, I'm 100% religious, oh, this. It's, I understand that I am a work in progress. I understand that I'm under construction. In the same way that I understand that to myself, I have to extend it to other people. And and also talk about, I've been in abusive relationship before, and the last abusive relationship I was in, where the person I was with put a gun in my head, spit in my face and all that. And it, when God got me out of the situation that I placed myself into, and he got me out of it, it was that, how do I forgive? How do I forgive somebody who
Right.
intentionally hurt me? How do you forgive somebody that intentionally break you down? And I really had to sit with God with that, because I was like, I'm not forgiving nothing. It's like, but it was like I couldn't be like that, because God is like, you want me to forgive you? You're not perfect. You, just because you didn't go to that extreme, sin is sin. It doesn't, there's no balance to it. It all boils down. And then I had to really sit back and think about, one, I think people give whatever they can give from the level that they know from.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think people sit in that what they know from with no intention of growing anymore, because maybe they just doesn't see anything wrong with where they are, or maybe they're just so accustomed to it, depending on who they learned it from, that they just assume that that is the way it be, that the way it is. But then the grace extends to, I don't have to accept it anymore. I wish you nothing but the best in life, and we will never see each other again. But I no longer hold on to that hate. I no longer hold on, you know, to that, whatever the bad taste is. I have to learn to extend grace to them in the same way I expect God to extend it to me. And it's work. Like I said, everything is work. Everything is work. But you have to figure out, is in this work, what is the outcome of it? What is the goal of it? If I'm in this work, if I'm doing this work, then what am I really expecting out of it?
Right. Let me also kind of bring this in,
Mhm.
because you talked about the whole piece, and it's we're in the month of October. It's Domestic Violence Month. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's you know a chronic time. When people are experiencing a chronic illness like something like that,
Mhm.
it can be life altering and shifting both ways, right? And
Mhm.
so I've come to the conclusion that people pour out what they get poured into them. So what I mean by that is, if you experienced neglect or abuse or mistreatment, you can't help but pour that out sometimes. because it was poured into you. And unless you're willing to do the work of healing, whatever that might look like for you,
Mhm.
and I believe it's a well-rounded healing. I don't think it's just, mental health. I also think it's, your physical health. It's your spiritual, all of those things. Unless you're willing to do the work, you're not going to see real effective change. And truly, since we're going to come at this from a spiritual side, I personally believe that comes through Jesus Christ, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but he can set you free, but we also have free will. And so we
Right.
have the choice to be in a place of staying free. And that's kind of like where I see the work at,
Mhm.
because some
Mhm.
people get more comfortable with being, um, you get comfortable with what's unhealthy versus walking in what is healthy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I know I went
Right.
really deep with that, but just with me.
No, no.
So when
Right.
it
Especially
comes
if you're
to,
still in it.
especially if you're still in it. So when
Mhm.
it comes to grace, the recognition or mercy, because in that case you're talking about mercy, um, when you recognizing that person, because they've been had um, negative negativity, since we're talking about positivity, negativity poured into them, they really can't help but to provide that out. And it doesn't just reflect out to you; it also
Mm.
reflects out to work. It reflects out to community. It reflects out in how they care for um, their their
Own
possessions and things
family
of that
members.
nature. It
Mhm.
reflects in those other things. Yes, and so from that standpoint, when it comes to that, within that standpoint, walking in a place of grace can also look like, I recognize that this is, you're pouring out what you know you can pour out, or I recognize that you're comfortable pouring out and you don't want to get better within that. But
Mhm.
even though I recognize that and I see that, I don't have to be in a position or in a space where you're pouring, which is the boundaries part, where you're
Mhm.
pouring that out into me.
Yeah, right.
You
Mhm.
don't get the you don't get the what's the word? You don't get to have access to me to pour that into me.
Right. Right.
You get where I'm coming from?
Mhm.
And not only does
Absolutely.
that protect your peace, that protects your peace of mind.
Mhm. Mhm.
That protects you from, further, trauma,
Mhm.
you know, that
Mhm.
protects you from anxiety and all of those play things, because you're choosing to embrace positivity. And
Right.
sometimes embracing positivity can look like a negative thing,
Mhm.
but you're embracing positivity because you're
Mhm.
choosing to surround yourself in environments where people are pouring life into you and
Right.
not toxic things into you.
Mhm.
And I think that's extremely important.
Mhm.
Right.
And you have to, because you have a responsibility to yourself. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be responsible enough to say, I'm not just going to absorb it. Just because you said it
Right.
does not mean that I'm going to absorb it. It's like
Right.
because you are whatever you're projecting out is based on whatever you project out. I tell people, if you're gonna say something about me, make sure you're talking about me. Make sure it's something that I did, because we
Mm-hmm.
live in, even in relationships, if we don't heal, we're just bringing all that extra stuff along. We're bringing all the baggage along with us. And if we're not really aware of it, it's all that baggage is now projected inside the relationship. So you're not even in the relationship. You're in the past, that you can't even see what is actually happening right there. So it's, what am I really giving out? And even, it's, you have to be honest with yourself. I think that you know, it's, we live in a world where people like, we all want it. Everybody wants everybody to think they're good. And that's fine. But be good. Like, really, be good. Don't just be good on the outside because it looks good. Like, be good on the
Hmm.
inside because that's just what you're supposed to be. Don't I'm speaking positivity, but every word out of your mouth is negative. Are you? Are you really?
Right.
It's
Right.
you have, and it's really, I always
Right.
say it's never you against anybody else. It's you against you, because we're in our head. So really, what are we saying in our mind? What are we speaking to our heart? What are we speaking to our brain? Like, are we really, really focused on God? I didn't grow up I grew up in church, but I didn't grow up where I just thought about God, thought about God, thought about God. It wasn't until I got older that God really, and God started working on me, that I really just started looking at life a little differently, and was like, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to walk? And that helped me interact with people, because it allowed me to be able, let me give you some love today. Let me give you a smile today, because that might be that smile that you needed all day. Let me ask you really how you're doing, because usually when people ask people how they're doing, they don't really care. That's just something that we, how you doing, and keep it
That's
moving.
true.
But it's
Right.
like, let me show you, let
Right.
me take 1 minute to really, how are you doing, to really show you that somebody cares. Because in a world of negativity, sometimes we're all looking for that little 1% to show that at least somebody cares.
Hmm. Hmm. And another life tip, Shemitria, I think is important as well, is you kind of touched on it, is community, right?
Mhm,
Keeping people around you that are speaking life to you, are positive, not necessarily that you're telling me what, I think we talked about this on the podcast too, you know, not necessarily telling me what, don't necessarily tell me what I want to hear, but speak
mhm,
life to me,
mhm.
because you can be speaking something I want to hear, and not be speaking life to me, but speak
Right,
life to me,
right,
right?
right, right, exactly. I 100% agree. And it's just, how do you move? What are you saying? And even I said it when we talked in the podcast, at night, have you given yourself high five? I went for my walk this morning, and when I came in the door, because it was a little chilly this morning, and so I had to talk to myself, to make, really go outside and make it happen. When I got home, I said, way to go, Shimmy. I said, way to go. And literally that set my tone for the whole day. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do it. Those way to go, Shimmy. And I think that we need that sometime, especially if it's not around. You have to find a way to really, how can I encourage myself?
I think Paul said, I make myself happy, right?
Mm,
And that's,
mm-hmm,
yep, I make myself happy. And he's talking about speaking life to yourself, encouraging yourself, and doing those types of things. Well,
mm-hmm.
we are about finished with our live. Do you have
Already, we can
anything?
talk forever.
Yeah, we could. It's so easy, right? So, can you share with us anything else that you have coming up? Of course, audience, you can also look on the show notes as well. But is it, you have anything else coming up that you'd like to share with us to let
Yes.
the audience know about?
So actually, we have a full fourth quarter that's happening. This vision board, in my office, I love the vision board. So
I
we
love
have
vision
a
boards too.
vision board party coming up in December. We actually created a
Woo-hoo.
game, an empowerment bingo game, because everybody loves bingo. So the empowerment bingo game is just bingo with the twist. Instead of the numbers, it's words like beautiful, bold, ideal, go getter, grind. Because if we can pour into people any kind of way, I'm all open for that. And everybody loves bingo, and it's great. if you hear the words, you're beautiful, you're bold, you're bright, you are a go-getter, then if you're constantly hearing those words poured into you, then that helps a little bit as you pour them into yourself. So I
Right.
just want to thank you so much, Elisha, for what you do, for the space that you provide and how you pour into people. And I'm so grateful to God that He aligned our paths to cross, because you are a great pourer. And I just so appreciate you. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Shimmy. I appreciate you too, sis. Like you said, we're family now. So
That's right. We sure are. We sure are. We are family.
yes. Yeah, you'll be invited to the barbecue. So
Yes. Yes.
so listen. So listen. I was gonna say, oh, so audience, thank you everyone for joining us on this live. I hope that you got some information that was helpful. On the Elisha Space Podcast Club group Facebook page. I know that was a lot. I will make sure to add the vision board information, and I will add everything else to for everyone so that you will have access to that. And it'll also be on the show notes. So thank you, Shimmy, for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for whether you're here present. I saw that we had some people watching us a little bit. So that was awesome. Or if you watch it later, thank you for joining us and be well.